Are we good, Peter? Can you hear me okay? Okay, thank you, Peter. Let me repost the link really quick. Twitter. Let me get this out for everybody. Okay, we are ready to go. So before we get started here, let me get the a quick disclaimer up with the legal notice. Sorry, I'm running a little slow for Monday morning. Let's get this. Hold on a second here. And good morning to everyone. I hope you had a good weekend. Happy New Year to everyone celebrating the Jewish high holidays. Let us. Okay. This is Simon with Trade and Perform Coaching and ToughTrader.com. Just a quick legal notice: past performance not indicative of future results. Trading derivatives has substantial risk. Please have a trade plan. Know that you can lose all your capital trading. Let's see if there's anything else I need to throw on there. This is for educational purposes only. I'm sharing my trade plan with you. Hopes that it makes you a better trader. It's not for everybody, right? You got to be a focused day trader wanting to look for a very specific trade location, right? I'm not trying to call the market or call a giant move up or down. I'm trying to find a pinpoint location, pull out my 2 to 10 points, whatever the market's offering that day, and move along with the rest of my day. And so that's my 2 cents on that, right? So let's get started. We're obviously trading up. Let me see what pull up my trading domes real quick. I'll tell you what the numbers look like. We are trading on ES up 11 points, on NQ up 40, right? If we look at the let's go take a look at the bigger picture really quick, and then we'll work our way backwards from there. So if we look on ES, right, and I posted the chart up, and what I said was the most important area, and we were trading above it last night in Asia, and I wrote my notes. Let's get rid of this, right? So I said that was my most important level for the day, the 28.7750. Now, it's funny when you have people learn, they go, just tell me the important things. You have to be able to know what's the most important. So there's an anomaly sitting right here, right? And it served as resistance last night. And if you look, it's where we broke out. So if you look at how at any rate, long story short, this morning, as long as we hold above 77.50, right, meaning we consolidated and held above for, let's just call it 30 minutes, I expect it to push out and make an attempt to come back and repair. When you look at this chart, bigger chart, there's two things that are really, really interesting in this chart before everyone gets really bearish. So first of all, not counting the holiday trading, we've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days of value and price shifting lower. It's extremely rare. So I posted a few charts. And I want to take you back to just to show you how rare that is. If you come back to January, which for some reason I don't have on this chart, but I will. Hold on one second here. Nope. Nope. Let's kill this. Other now. And all right, what's up? It's here. It's not. So here, plan B. This should be pretty quick. Fire. Okay, now we'll have January. Okay, so going back to January, right? So remember, we tanked pretty hard. If you remember earlier this year, right? Into January, we had this big run up into the end of January, and see how we corrected really hard. So look at the number of days in a row where value actually shifts lower, right? So I would start from here, but notice that we just traded sideways and then broke, actually shifting lower from day over day. If you start here, we had 1, 2, 3, 4. That was the entire initial correction in February, right? 4 days down. And again, if you look, we then had an up day after we actually moved up. Then even when we moved lower, right? Again, you had 1, 2, 3 days shifting down, and that busted out to a huge counter rotation over the following week. So the reason why I bring this up, so one of the things you can do when you're trying to get better as a trader is you imagine your past mistakes and then use them going forward, right? What is my mistake this time going to look like, right? How am I screwing this up today? How is my decision that I'm making right now going to hurt me 10 minutes from now, 10 hours from now, or 20 hours from now, right? So the first thing I want to point out, see when we're buried underwater here, see the balloon after effect where even though, right, we're about to go lower than this, right? We're about to correct lower, just a nasty, huge counter rotation back up. And if you look at what that counter rotation was, right, after the initial push down. So what you would have been reading down here is, oh, how bearish it is. You would notice that on multiple days, we've had nasty swings down. People get really encouraged to the short side, right? When you have that, I believe at the time this was the all-time high. That's the low. And if you'll notice, that's the 50-60 back right here. If you'll notice, we come back to the 50-60 back. Now watch what goes on to the right. I'm going to give you the levels in a minute, right? So notice that we come back to the 50-60. We trade sideways. They squeeze all the shorts out, right? You go, oh, I thought we were correcting. Turns out we've recovered 75% of the move to the downside, right? So then roll over. You decide, oh, it's all long. I'm only trading long, period, right? Now look at the next roll down, right? This next roll down right here in early March, days that had value shift lower. 1, 2, 3, 4, right? And if you look once again, if you draw up your handy and nifty 50-60 retrace, which is very common in the marketplace. Highlight it again. Okay. We make another stab to the 50-60, consolidate, right, and come all the way back to the highs. We're not done yet, right? So once again, if you look at this and this is the picture that you're looking at, right? This is the picture you're looking at. And you'd have everyone going, oh, we're going to punch the lows, right? We've had 3 days shift lower. You'll notice, if you remember this January, February part, these corrections were pretty damn nasty. Now look at the last piece here. This is the low right there. That is the low. And if you look, the most we could generate, this is late March, was 1, 2 days in a row, maybe 3 days in a row of punching new lows. And that was it, guys. We made one more stab. I apologize. That's March, right? And if you'll notice, the down market mostly involved after we had the initial move down, mostly involved two-sided trading, right? We had some days that closed at the lows, some days that closed at the mid, and some days that closed at the high. And that's because we go into balance to consolidate to build energy, right? And then we make one more stab up, right? Notice all those days up. If you got bearish starting in April, you got ripped for the first 3 weeks of April to the upside with some down days in there, but net, huge roll up. And then here we go again. Here's the new stab down to lows, right? Notice again, 1, 2, right? 3, strong bounce. And then again, 1, 2, you don't get the third day. And then on the fourth day, by the time it actually goes lower, that just sets you up for a nasty, nasty upside pop, right? So what's my story? Well, why am I pointing that out, or why is that important? Because one of the things I've done in my career is I've looked back and gone, oh, look how many downside moves we've had. Surely we're going to go punch that new low, right? And when I look at this, and I was wrong for the better part of last week, I kept looking for the long side of the trade. I had an okay week last week. It wasn't great, but by no stretch was it horrible. And there was one particular day, Wednesday, that paid for my entire week in spades, right? But this is a bunch of down days in a row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is significant because it's 6 down days, but look at the chart. This is your last area of structure here to the left, right? That's the top, that's the bottom. All we've done is we've had 6 down days in a row, and we've come and backside tested. When you do, when we all open our first book on charting, right? We all have a picture like this. Consolidation, right? They show a bunch of days inside. Breakout. Backside test. Continuation to infinity, right? We've all seen that picture, right? What most day traders for some reason seem to want, or what you want in this case, is you want what we've had is structure, right? Breakout. Now, in order to make this a down market, there's your last structure, right? What you need is the market to push down. So obviously you could just break down in some horrible scenario where it just breaks and never comes back. But normally what happens is it breaks down, backside tests, right? And now down to the downside. We haven't had this occur, and weaker traders, right, try to catch the top off the high, and because they envision it rolling all the way down here somehow, and they don't envision the fact that the market does this no matter which way it's rolling constantly, right? So don't get locked into this one-way mentality. It's generally a two-sided market, okay? So let me get rid of that. Let's see. Clear. Okay, so we're in an uptrend, right? We've had 6 days back. We're due for an up day. The next thing that's really important for the day is I'm setting up. What am I looking at? I know if I am not coming back to this chart over here, right? I don't even have to look at price, right? Price is the last thing that I look at, right? The first thing I want to look at is where we're on the chart. So we're currently trading 28.86 and a quarter. As I showed last week to you guys in the room, a lot of times when we gap way out of value, so we're trading up here right now, right? Hold on a sec. Why am I annotating like this? Get rid of this. Thank you for participating. Please go away. There we go. So we are trading right here. Okay. So number one, we can either come back in and fill back to 7. There's 3 choices that the market can do. We can have a gap, open drive higher, no responsive sellers, and trend day up. In that particular scenario, since I'm not willing to buy the first 30 seconds of the market, if the first open is the opening tick and it drives straight up, I'm probably on the sidelines for the next 2 hours, right? Because there's no place that I can enter that will offer me a high odds location or let me see what the price action looks like without simply guessing that we are going to continue the overnight trend up. So the first thing you have to do is write down and go, well, if I'm afraid of missing the trend day up, then your choice is you have to figure out how to get that entry off the open. I don't have a high super, I will show you what I'm looking for, but I don't have a super high odds way of looking at that and going, this is exactly what I'm looking for. I'll show you one way, but the failure rate is closer to about 40%, right? It's a lot of stops out of 1,000 trades. That's 400 stops randomly distributed, right? So, so the first thing that I'm looking for is if it opens and drives higher, I don't get upset. I go, it's not in my trade plan. Move along to the next trade. What am I looking for? For Delta to get above 20K, right? Which I don't think we're there yet. Let's see. Delta's at 10K. Delta above 20K would indicate to me that we probably have another 5 to 10 points, and I'll probably look for a way to get in on that with a 2-point stop if I can engineer it. Don't know that I can, right? So number 2 thing that I'm looking for, if we open up and the gap fails, do we get below the 5-minute bar? Number 1, right? Number 2, after the first 30 minutes to an hour, do we have half gap or gap fill? Lack of either one of those after the first 30 to 45 minutes and holding above 28.7750 generally indicates to me that we have a very strong odds of pushing out like that. What's my likely target up? This 28.95. Is it likely that we can hit it? Yes. Why? First of all, it's 10 points away. It's an easy stretch to get. Number 2, we went out at 28.74. That's 20 points up, well within the bounds of what we've been able to achieve on RTH basis, right? And a 24-hour basis. Very easily done. Number 3, that's almost been tested, right? So if you're going to short there, so clearly it's still open, but it missed by literally 1 tick. This is a naked point of control and a naked TPO point of control. All that means is that was the point, if you go back to the 4th, where we spent the most time and the most volume invested, right? has to jump that hurdle, okay? And it's almost been tested for many, many traders. They would consider that tested. Technically, we didn't tag it. We missed by a tick. So then the next most likely target. So this is an anomaly that's been untested right here. Okay, that area brings up 95 to 97. Why is that important? So let me go to the chart that I posted to members last night. Drag this thing over. Okay, so I'm going to show you how this ends up working so that we can see up above. How am I doing on time? I'm doing okay. There we go. This is from the other computer. There we are. Okay, so over on the other computer, if you look, here we'll open up ES. Why not more time? There we go. There's the upper levels. Okay, so notice I have this 95, 97, right? We missed by a tick. What am I looking out for over in wow, you're not seeing that crosshair tool. Where is my crosshair tool? There is no crosshair tool. I'll use this. Here we go. So this area right here, this is that, this right here, right, is this anomaly right there. Almost tested, right? So what's the next area to look for? Well, if you look behind it, right, so let me keep going on this concept. If you look behind there, okay, this doesn't count for me, but this was almost tested as well. This is a volume point of control. The TPO point of control is above, right? And then right above that is another TPO control and another volume point of control. So you go, well, how do I know what resistance is up there? And the answer is the whole darn thing from here to here, all of it is potential resistance. All of it could potentially be taken out. And then here's your swing high off to the left, right? So when I get this, I look for two things when I'm charting, making a chart, because I know other people are relying on that chart to place a trade. What I say is, A, there's no clear pinpoint place. Let me show you. So see this over here? Sometimes I'll look at a chart. Sometimes I'll look at a chart and I'll look at this chart and I'll go, this is clear resistance. Now look at how the market treated that area. See how we pushed right in, rejected out, got above, backside tested, and pushed. Real simple, right? So now when I look at this over here, I go, whoops. I go, not real simple. Ton of crap up there that needs to be fixed, okay? So I'm going to have to do one or two things. I'm going to have to look at it. So how do I fix that? I look at extension. Number one, 20 points up puts me at 95, right? 29.05 puts me up 30. Unlikely. It's hard for ES to push more than 20 to 25 on even the best days. There are a few out there. Generally, those days where we have 30 or 40 points up don't come off the top of the market. They come off of where we've had nasty downside move, and we close on the low. Next day we gap, and then we just run from there. But it generally comes from when we're already generating 20 to 30 to 40 point downside rotations. We're not in that environment. We haven't been producing that. They've been pretty gentle down days. They've just been consistent, right? So my guess would be when I erase all this, right, is I'm just going to take a line, and I'm going to go 95 to 29.05. This is my likely upside target in this area, right? And I have two areas in here. This volume point of control right here. And then as Ralph is in the room, contributed, and I'll show you his posting on the Slack channel. By the way, guys, I posted links to the Slack channel. If you're not on it and you're a member in the room, please join it. And nice trade on the SPY calls, Peter. So Ralph pointed this out, and he made a very good point, right? So this is the 25% retrace back up, right? And that's sitting right at, excuse me. Ralph, you had a good point, and I saw, oh, right there, the 28.90. I think that's what you were, he was trying to point out. Maybe I'm wrong on that. And I want to point out what Ralph wrote on the Slack channel. He posted this last night after I posted charts, right? And he said, once again, 77 is key, which I wrote last night as well. We'll be interested to see if we hold above 77 overnight. If we hold above, looking long into 88.90 area RTH, where does it make sense to get long for me? A, near 77, maybe as low as 74. Why 74? 77 key level, agreed. 75 RTH close, 72 session close. 74 sits right in the middle. 28.70 and a quarter, last RTH long trigger from 12:45 Friday. 28.81 and a quarter, last RTH. So for now, expecting this 81 and a quarter to act as an obstacle. Hope this helps. I agree with everything that he wrote. And so he has a different methodology. Ralph charts differently than I do. But if you look at the net, what the result was last night, right? If you look what I wrote and how those two different styles of charting merged together. What I put was, when you look at the chart, 77.50, support 74, 73.50, right? Minor resistance at 80, 81. That's what held overnight. Now we are above it. And if you look at what needs to be repaired off to the left, right, there's a hole in this profile right here that we had resistance on from Friday, that 80, 85, pretty clear to see. This is a poor high right here. If we get up to this level, right here, I expect this to go. Let me define to go. If we trade 28.93, and then we trade 93 quarter, 93.50, but we have a single print. So that high, instead of looking like this, looks like this, right? Then you say you have a good high end, you have excess at the high, and the chart would be considered repaired, right? Has to happen first, right? And again, that would put us up into 25. And if we escape that, the natural target up, right, even though it's from one tick away, 95, 96 and a quarter. What am I looking for here to say that, hey, the auction might be complete? See, there's a little anomaly right here that has been completely untested, which is right at 98. See that anomaly? So what I would like to see, because I treat this as both two separate anomalies, but I block it off on my notes as one big anomaly. So what would I like to see? And what would let me know that we might roll back over is we're trading 84. We get above 84. We hold 84 is the most aggressive position we take, right? Above prior day's high. We trade up to 93. Everyone sees that that was a double top. They try for 93. They squeeze the shorts into 95. I expect initial rejection. But what I'd really, really like to see for a rollover, right, is we get above all of this. We come in. We give all the retail traders their gap fill up here at 99. We push down back below 92, backside test into here, and then we come back and fix it all the way back. I don't expect this rollover, and that would be a longer-term picture. I don't expect this intraday because on the 12th, we have Apple's numbers, not Apple's numbers, Apple's new product introduction at their headquarters, and that tends to create a short squeeze up in NASDAQ. NASDAQ's pretty much been leading us to the downside. If NASDAQ doesn't roll, it's hard to see a scenario where ES rolls. The greatest risk to your positions today are just like Friday. The president tweeting, China tweeting, et cetera, et cetera. There's another side of the risk that not many people are talking about, which is if the United States or China announce that they're going to come and sit down at the table, which is what Trump wants. The government's been pretty clear. What they want is China to sit down at the table and renegotiate the tariffs, right? And they've been raising them, and China's been just simply responding. That's why, hence we have a war. No one's talking to each other, right? If China announces or US announce, or they both announce that they're going to sit down for meetings over the tariffs, I would expect on the NASDAQ a 200 to 300 point rally, right? It's the same downside risk as the same upside risk. You remove that risk, everyone's going to flood in on the market, right? Be cautious on simply fading either side just because there's news. The other thing, remember, so now let's get past this. The places on the guys that I'm coaching one-on-one where there's losses are the guys that are trading within 15 minutes of a news announcement. If you generally wait an hour, you're clear, and there's been plenty of trades setting up. So now we know where resistance is. We are 2 minutes from the open. What do I expect or what do I need from the open to get my trade set up? Let me get my chart down here. So I'm not buying the open. The move already happened. I saw it last night coming, and I'm going to let them settle it out of the gate. But if I wanted to trade off the open, what would I look for? So number one, biggest delta, right? So we all know, at least if you're in the room, we all know what we are looking for. So if you want a quick trade out of the gate, your play is, so these are very small range bars. There's your momentum push up. And again, I don't call the NQ trades for the most part through the course of the day. Guys who need the algo or trade it already have it on their desktop. 1163, 1118, 1203, winner, winner, chicken dinner. That is essentially your over-under right there. 24-hour, be mindful if you're taking this. 24-hour VWAP is sitting at approximately 28.82. Delta's plenty positive. I would expect off the open. So the way you cheat the open, if you want to try and grab it, get in and go, you enter 84.50, you stop 82.50, and you pray like hell you don't test the VWAP, because I'm not willing to take more than a 2-point stop off the opening of that trade. Or you wait till it tests in and then get the first green bar and take that long. In essence, you put a buy stop after the first test. But there's the initial test. My guess would be after that initial test that you are going to get responsive buyers almost immediately out of the gate. I'd be very surprised if you did not get the response right out of the gate. Hold on 1 second. I'd be very surprised if you didn't get that initial response right out of the gate. It's very likely. See how they tested right to it and then pushed up. And if you're looking for trend day up, you're going to squeeze those shorts, and then logical target again is up to that 95. And you can see they just tapped it, right? They just tapped it. Now, if it's strong, it won't tap it again. It's just going to turn into an open drive higher, and they're going to roll. If it doesn't turn into an open drive higher, right, then you talk about the potential coming down and testing VWAP. But again, I think that is somewhat unlikely. Important to note, NQ is not above 77, right? That is a big deal that it's not above 77. So that could lead into a profit taking right out of the gate, and inventory is long, right? So if they don't respond immediately, the other side of the scenario becomes pretty likely, right? But my guess is they're going to try and push out. Anyone fading it probably going to have a difficult time, would be my guess. So that's my 2 cents. That was your entry. You had 2 seconds, right? So from here, Delta's positive. We're watching if Delta can flip above 20K, right? 1 second here. We're going to watch if Delta can flip above 20K, right? And then NQ is pushing in to start the day. On NQ, the biggest delta, you really have to be above 77, and we're pushing down into the 63 here. So we just printed the biggest negative delta. I would say getting above 70 pushes us back for a test of 77, but we're underneath value, right? So underneath Friday's value area high, and I said that marked the most important location on NQ for me. So there's nothing for me to do until I see it get above 77 on NQ. I'm going to assume they're going to attempt to push back in. And in terms of how much we're up or down, NQ is up 15, ES is up 8. So you found responsive buyers right out of the gate, responsive sellers out of the gate. And we've come down to a test VWAP, apparently. So anyways, that's my 2 cents. They're trying to push down on NQ. Good luck with that. I don't see it just completely falling apart, but hey, anything can happen, right? Anyone have any questions out of the gate? Because that's my 2 cents. I expect to push 95 or on ES. We got to get below that value area and has some room back there until that gets accomplished. There's some room back to that area. So anyways, that's my 2 cents. Give it time. Right? So remember, going back to that chart, man, they are just in whipsaw mode here. So caution. It's got to get above that 77. Otherwise, there's nothing on NQ, and ES will also roll over. You can see we've held that number, and we've held VWAP. So my thought process would be they're going to try and take that out to the upside. And you can see that backside test right into that delta. See how we never closed underneath it? There's your push. So if you wanted the early entry, got it, right? NQ's still not catching up. Just the opposite. They're selling it. So I think there's time. That's essentially open drive lower on NQ, by the way. So let's see if they come back for a test of value on ES. And now notice you're underneath. If you close underneath that 1203, backside test into that now serves as resistance, right? So again, it's early in the day, right? Trying to game this in the first few minutes, it's very, very difficult. And the number was 74, 71, 77, 75. That's what was the important number. Nasty open on NQ. They shook the longs pretty darn hard there. Don't be surprised if it whips all the way back the other way. Still haven't lost a 24-hour VWAP. That was a rip from 71 to 40. 30 points in the first few minutes on NQ. Nasty. I don't have ES as shorts though, guys. It's held that you've held that biggest delta. Now you have a new biggest delta to work off of. Target's still above 95. Again, we're looking for delta divergences, right? Biggest delta backside test, right? This is your support until broken at this point, right? And then you're matching it for guys that are using the charts, right? You're matching against your bigger picture levels, right? And then you're keeping an eye on NQ. NQ's got to get above that 74.71 to make a run for it, right? If it doesn't, there's nothing to do. There's nothing to say. It's going to act as a big old cement shoes on the rest of the market. That's just how it goes, right? And there's no need to. This is the first 10 minutes, right? We're not doing anything. We're just open. We're opening inside range, and we have open auction, right? We're at Friday's high on ES. We're inside the balance of the afternoon on NQ. Let me show you. So you just keep going through that checklist over and over, and you don't get in love with the price action one way or the other, right? So all you do, right, look at the price action. What is this? Open auction. You got to get above the first 5-minute high. NQ, below value. So ES is above value, right? And I said that 77.50 is very, very important. NQ, I said very important. 74, 71, 75. I posted that up on the charts last night. You got to get above. It resisted below. It's come back in. It's filled the gap to the tick. ES didn't fill the gap. ES is stronger than NQ. If NQ gets above 77, expect an additional push to get ES into this location up to 28.95. The inverse is true. Get below value. Watch out for long liquidation or retest of Friday's low, last week's low, and I imagine that would drag ES into filling the gap at 28.75 and a retest of 77.50 to 75. Really important to remember on ES, on gap ups like this, if we start to fill in and we come within 3 ticks of that gap fill and we miss, right, that is very bullish and expect to push out. What I'd want to see is if we come in, we miss, I'd want to see a reestablishment above 77.50, and I'll start working the long side trade for a grind back up to 75. But as of this moment right now, there's nothing for me to do, right? I can wait very happily, let everyone whip themselves in and out and get all curious. Remember, Monday, range tends to be narrowed, right? And we tend to end up at the end of the day with a balanced day, right? Both in ES and NQ, they tend not to be trend up or trend down. Now, that's most of the time. Let's say that's 70% of the time. That means you have 30% of the time that it's something other than balance, right? That means it can turn into trend day up, trend day down, failed gap, right? There's a whole bunch. If you trade 1,000 times, that means you have, and it's a 70% odds that we have balance, right? It's a lot. That means there's over the course of 3 years, let's say it's 1,000 trading days, roughly. That means you're going to have 300 days, right? Possibly, at least from a hypothetical standpoint, possibly in a row where that doesn't happen, right? So what I get is you said, well, Simon, you said Monday's a balance day. This turned into a trend day. Well, 30% of the time, you're not seeing it you're not seeing it and say 100% of the time it's balanced. I said 30% of the right? So focusing on ES, as long as it holds above the 24-hour VWAP, you got to either get this should serve as support right now. Closing below this opens this up, right? So close below. So for those of you who are watching on YouTube, right, the chart is the background, the deltas, and the order flow are the precise location. A close with a point of control underneath this 28.8250. This now sets this specific spot as resistance. It could take 2 times underneath, but that would open this up to come back and retest the 77. You can get rid of this now. This gets pretty messy as I go through the day. So 77.50, right? If we get underneath here, the natural target would be 77.50, backside tested value area high, followed by the 75.73 area below here. Those would be the next 2 areas. What has to happen for that to occur? You got to get below this. Failure to get below this, right? So now you know, right? You have a pretty low risk entry here if you want it. I don't want it, right? For 95. Why don't I want it? Because I don't like getting stopped first thing on a Monday morning. I want to see what it is that everyone has to do, and then I'll make my decisions later in the day. I just want to come out with a few good trades on Monday and get ready for the rest of the week. The range tends to be narrowest on Monday. Also, NQ is pushing the lows again. And we have new lows on NQ, right? So close below here changes the perspective. And obviously, if the market were in sync, here, I'm going to show you my other chart really quick. When the market's in sync, so I'm going to show you this open. See this ES balance, NQ starting to make lower lows and lower highs, right? When the market is in sync and we're ripping, that's when everyone goes, oh, wow, look how easy it is, right? Here, let's get rid of this. It looks like this. I may actually have too many computer screens going. There we go. See this picture? See this picture? The market is almost completely in sync with each other. That ES is on the left, NQ is on the right. See how they're both behaving the same? That's where it goes, oh, it was so easy. Everything ripped. I bought it. It went. There's no chop. Just was directional, right? We don't have that here, okay? This is the picture we have here. The more you get familiar with looking at what kind of picture you have, the easier it gets. This is open drive lower, within range, not gap out of range. It reduces the intensity of the rotation down, right? It reduces the odds that you're actually going to have an open drive lower. Number 2, meaning it's probably going to open auction chop in here. This is going to be, see how choppy it was here? Guess what? That's how choppy it is probably going to end up being over here. ES is not open drive higher or lower. It's inside range balance, 20 minutes. And anyone who's been trying to get long or short is just getting ripped up and down, but not in a, but making no net direction. This is where day traders who put in tight stops tend to get stopped a lot. They'll be like, oh, I was up 3 points. It came back against me. Oh, I was down. I bailed. I tried to go with the trend. I flipped. I reversed the other way. And that's because we are not trending, guys. All right. See this? This is open auction. Again, on ES is much more likely to hit 28.95. We have to recover 74, 71 and 3/4, and then look for a backside test in that area for push out until NQ does that. Now, for those who are new in the room, right? I'm telling you, I think we end up at 95. Doesn't mean I have an entry, right? And I think NQ ends up way up here at 75.60, right? But I don't have an entry, nor do I like to trade open auction. So just like everything else, right? It's pretty easy to read on a chart. I wrote last night, and I said this to Daniel was talking to me. I said, hey, we're above 77.50. ES should push. It pushed. Doesn't mean I want to stay up overnight. It doesn't mean I want to trade the first 30 minutes. I need all the pieces to come together for me into one trade that I can trade confidently, right? So I can put my risk on. So if I traded one contract, right, I might be able to buy 85 and add another contract at 75 going, it's going to end up at 95, no big deal. But I don't. I trade leverage. It has to be perfect, right? So that's my 2 cents. I feel like I'm a little too hyped for a Monday morning. And it's slowing. The pace of trade is already slowing down. NQ looks like a blender. So caution. It's not driving one way or the other. And now we just sit and wait. This is still, actually we have a new kingmaker. Shift left, shift right, right there. We close underneath, that then becomes resistance. Remember, you've got to get below VWAP. If you're shorting up here, expect them to try to save VWAP, right? So see how we're about to get this close underneath? So guys that I've been coaching, you can either wait for the point of control to get underneath, or you simply short this bar on the close, like you short that, half size. So your entry is half size. If you're looking short, half size, stop, right? That's going to end up being about a 2 3/4 point stop, right? And then you've got to get below VWAP to make it pushed. That's my 2 cents. It's likely to happen because NQ is showing just a boatload of weakness relative to ES. So it may actually act as a chain around the neck of the ES traders. We'll see which one gives. And when the markets don't line up like this, as you know, I don't like to trade, right? So normally we look for the backside tap of this. Okay, so let's slow down through here, right? What's the challenge here with the short? The challenge is we've gapped up. We haven't had gap fill, right? We're above VWAP. We've now had the biggest delta. We all know from examples, right, that the backside test of this usually results in a 1 to 2 point trade. And we also know it's possible just because you simply got the close underneath and that algo's triggered a star, which tells us that's a momentum push, right, that we are likely to push back in now, right? So there's always that conundrum. This is where I say you do half. If you want the short, half, stop, 2 ticks above, right? And now you have a chance of rolling in and pushing down. Again, we're still in the first 30 minutes. Not my cup of tea. But that's the setup, and it is valid, okay? You're just going to run into a challenge at VWAP. You have to figure that out. So let's erase all our lines. They shifted control bar up. Now they're going to dance on VWAP. And I got a feeling we should break here. Although Delta's improving. Oh, no, I'll take it back. We pushed 20K on Delta and rejected. Getting above 20K on this Delta, guys, you know I'll be long. Cumulative Delta, 20K print. And we close above on the bit. I'll be long on that, right? Notice that we pushed right to 20K on Delta and couldn't close above, and now we get the responsive sellers off of that. And NQ's a slaughterhouse this morning for anyone who tried to grab that long and push. Right back to the settle price, to the gap, and you have retail traders trying to close that gap, and we're right down on value area low, which is 74.29, right? Below 74.29, you're going to test that Friday swing low on NQ, right? And bulls are going to want to see that Friday low hold. This is what I'm talking about. I might as well just keep this here so I can just flip it here. Okay, that's Friday afternoon swing low. Bulls are going to want to defend. 2 very different pictures, right? 2 very different pictures. And see how this would have been hard to set up short, but when you have the algo helping you out, it gets a lot easier if you wanted a short, right? Gets a lot easier to find locations. So if you shorted here, right, that puts your entry. Notice you didn't get your backside test if you didn't front run it by a few ticks, right? That puts your entry here at 85 1/4, right? So let's just call it 85 even. You now need 83 to get your 2-point scale and cover most of the stop on the balance if you need it. What's running you into problems? 24-hour VWAP's running you into problems, right? And NQ is also filling the gap over here, right? And they're trying to, retail traders are trying to hold this gap fill, right? As you know, I hate trading gap, the settle price from prior day. I don't like trading that. And now we're below Friday's high, right? So that's a close above, trap back in. Be very leery. First close above and trap back in, it can push. Second close and third close back in, particularly after if we've pushed up here, and we will tend to sweep the range, right? So remember that. Push above, trap back in, particularly on that second time, sets us up to come in and test all of this and potentially sweep the range back to Friday's low, and certainly test Friday afternoon swing low. Is that right? Friday afternoon swing low is actually almost near the low of the day. So longs aren't out of the woods yet, particularly on NQ. They're actually probably having a very frustrating time. I don't have momentum divergence. I do have momentum divergence into lows on NQ. I don't have divergence either way from momentum perspective on ES, long or short. And I'm missing a ton of commentary over here. So, Daniel, what do you got? Could, but it's on. It could. That NQ, if we break that gap area, Daniel, is going to most likely the end result of that will be that it drags ES down. Is the most likely result. Again, you'll notice that NQ is playing. So now you're about to get your 2 points. If you can get 82.75 on the bid, you'll definitely get it, right? It's not quite there yet. And then again, this could easily end up acting as a trap, right, for shorts on NQ. I don't see a trade that I like yet on that. And 3 minutes to the bottom of the hour. I don't think we have econ, but I'll look. Any meaningful econ. Oops, let's get rid of this. And I forgot to shut off the YouTube, guys, so I want to thank y'all for joining. If you'd like to join us in the room for a few days of trading, just send me an email to tradertough@gmail.com. Happy to extend a 5-day pass. I hope y'all liked it. Trade well, right? No market's a layup, and the only way you make a lot of money is by trading your pattern, your setups consistently and adapting to the environment the market gives you. It can pay you like a king one day and just pillage you the next, right? So let the market set up for you. It's never, ever easy because one day doesn't matter. You have to string these all together to make it work. Okay, let us. We have an FOMC member speaking sometime this morning. That's it. Again, that argues for balance most of the time, not a rip down or a rip up. We'll see what NQ can manage through the course of the day. So far, it looks like it one ticked below the prior swing low at 34 and has rallied right back up. Again, your challenge here, right, was VWAP. So remember that because that's going to come up again, guys, right? You'll get a good setup. You got to break VWAP to make that happen. Even if you're not trading it, you should be mentally paper trading that short, right? And go, well, how does this work so I know for next time? How does it look when it's hard? How does it look when it's smooth? Oh, so the other scenario would have been backside, close here, no backside test, rip through VWAP, right? Okay, I wouldn't want to see it back above VWAP, and then I know I have a potential home run. There's nothing wrong with trying this trade, and this is still resistance as of right now. So the backside test into this the first time, right, is valid. Stop 2 ticks above, right? So anyways, that's my 2 cents, guys, on YouTube. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a great trading day. I hope you all kill it, and we'll see y'all tomorrow morning.